have a question about ignorance. I find myself to become quite ignorant. I have compassion and love and come from that place, but I don't seem to respond to what's happening around me so much because I understand it's an illusion. And every time I see it, I just feel it is an illusion and it's okay for what it is. But now listening to you, I'm thinking maybe I should go back and be more active and participate. I used to be that way, but now I'm more like, it is what it is.
Well, I'll say a few words and then... Well, in any situation, prior to any action, the main factor is your state of consciousness. And any action you take arises out of a state of consciousness. If you see something that maybe suffering is being inflicted on another human being, it would be a misunderstanding of what spirituality is to say, well, this is just another illusion. So on the other hand, if you take whatever you see out in the world to be an absolute reality and nothing else, then you get lost in trying to solve the problems of the world on the level of effect. So, and that is the danger of people who are activists or try to help and do things. There is a place for, there's one dimension that is the level of effect where you can take action and do things. But at the same time, you need to be aware of the level of cause, where the causal level of human suffering and unconsciousness, and the causal level of human suffering is in state of consciousness, and it starts with your own. Are you connected to the deeper level of who you are? That's what we always address here. Are you connected with that? Or if you are connected with that, then what your mind calls illusion, then you truly know that this is not ultimate reality, and yet it has a relative reality. And you can take action and at the same time be connected with a deep inherent peace, an energy field of peace. The action that you then take, spontaneous action, is imbued with that peace. And if you don't know who you are, then you're trying to solve the problems of the world exclusively on the level of form, and they cannot be solved on the level of form. The level of form is an addition, an added thing that comes. Level of your state of consciousness is the primary factor in any action you take. Now, one needs to be careful with teachings that say it's all illusion, as not that it is not true, but like Advaita teachings or Course in Miracles teaching, it's all illusion. On what level do you know that? Is that just a belief in your mind that tells you, oh, it's all illusion? That's not, you don't really know that. It's actually not true as far as you are concerned. As Marianne said, you still get, when you visit your mother-in-law or whatever.
And you still get triggered.
You still get triggered by whoever, your mother or your mother-in-law or whoever it is. And to say then, well, it's all illusion. Well, you don't seem to know that your mother-in-law is illusion because you react as if she were absolutely real. So they don't really know it. Whether you know that, truly know that it's illusion, is determined by your state of consciousness. So when there's the deep peace is lacking, then you don't really know it in the depths of your being. You only know it intellectually. And if you only know intellectually that it's all illusion, that's not the truth. you're fooling yourself. That it needs to be a living truth inside you. Then it becomes true for you. So really, it's only spiritual teachers who have reached that place. They say it, and they are absolutely right when they say it. And then somebody repeats it, who just hears those words, and then thinks that's the solution to the world. It's not. It's a lie when you just repeat it for as far as you are concerned, because you haven't gone to that place where you truly know it. So that is your primary responsibility, is going to that place where you know at the deepest level. And then you can be of benefit in this world, because then any action you take is connected to a deeper level. And there's more than just the action you take. There's an entire energy field behind it that changes the world. And so the difference then between head knowledge and living knowledge.
There are monasteries, both Western and Eastern, both in the Eastern religions as well as Western orientations, where people just live in silence, monks in silence. They are probably doing as much to keep this world from blowing up in a nuclear catastrophe as is anyone. So what someone is, quote unquote, doing is on the outside does not even say. Because, just as Eckhart was just saying, if someone is acting in the realm of form, but they're bringing the old consciousness, they're actually recreating the old no matter what they're doing. And similarly, people who are, quote unquote, doing nothing, but they're praying all day for all living things, are doing plenty. When books like The Course in Miracles say the world is an illusion, or I need do nothing, as Eckhart was just saying, this is extremely important. When you hear these lines out of context, that is a profound misunderstanding of A Course in Miracles or any serious spiritual teaching, to think that the conversation stops there. Because the Course in Miracles says we are to do whatever we are sent out to do. Now, I would never presume to know. You might be in a phase where a doing of nothingness was necessary for a part of your own purification of consciousness, and just as true as that might be that you were meant to be here today to hear talk about a quickening. If you're only acting on the world of form and not addressing causal issues, then you are only creating more of a problem. But if, just as Eckhart already said all this, if you're only dealing on the realm of cause, but you're not like those monks praying for the world. You're just using, it's all an illusion anyway, so I don't have to do anything as an excuse. You're also perpetuating the problem. So it's both and. I want to tell you one quote from Martin Luther King Jr. He said, "You have very little morally persuasive power with people who can feel your underlying contempt." So that's the spiritual activist's creed. Dear God, I want to yell and scream at this person on television. I can't stand them. And you come to understand that your own self-righteousness, your own spiritual superiority, your own sense that you know and they don't know is the problem. So first you pray, please help me get rid of my own craziness. The Course in Miracles says the primary work of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself. Dear God, I really believe I'm better than they are, smarter than they are, and if only they were gone, the country would be fine. Dear God, heal me. Right? But then the issue is when you're flat on that, you won't feel moved to just sit there. You will, when and to the extent to which it is your assignment, do that which you are called to do if you are called to do it. But just as Eckhart was saying, you will do it from a different place. So the answer is both and, isn't it? Right?
Everything, it seems to be always is one thing, yet is another. It seems that actually it's really funny because you say something, but the opposite is truth as well. So it kind of contradicts everything in life, contradicts itself.
Give us an example.
Yes, I can be out there active and fight, and that would be great, and it will be beneficial for the energy of this planet and mine. Yet if I don't, and just sit in peace and love and just be still. It's the same.
No, if you go out there and you fight, you will only be temporarily managing an effect. It will only be an allopathic suppression of the symptoms. The issue is how much time did you spend in the presence that morning? Did you meditate and prepare inwardly before you went? And then if you went, you might have gone to the rally, but you wouldn't be coming to fight. You would be coming to be the presence in the midst of this chaos. You would come in a whole different way. And that is what the world needs now. These are illusions, but there's a part in the Course in Miracles where it talks about how you could take a spiritual teaching, you could take the power of now. It's a book, it's a form, it's an illusion, but it's an illusion that leads beyond illusion. So the Course in Miracles talks about the highest level of thinking of which the ego is capable. It's still the ego's world, we're bodies, we're talking, but it's the highest level of thinking of ego which ultimately will lead us. So I think it's both and. You pray, you meditate, then you show up if you feel moved to show up, but you will show up emanating something much more profound and causal than just, wow, man, I'm angry, which means you're just part of the problem. You're as much a hawk as they are.
Or take an example, let's say, very often whenever humans come together in institutions and companies, they sit, the enormous amount of conflict that's generated. Let's say there's a committee meeting. There's conflict, I mean, not only where you might expect conflict in the big financial institutions, there's the same amount of conflict when egos come together in hospital administrations, churches, church administration, and so on. So let's say you are there at a committee meeting where everybody is energized egoically, and in other words, it's quite insane. And your job is to embody, before you even think of what you are going to say or what you want, prior to all that, your job is to embody a different state of consciousness as you sit there. That comes first. It doesn't, what you want to happen or your point of view is, you can forget about for the time being. First is, what is my state of consciousness? Are you there as another agitated, egoic presence and saying, oh, things should be done the spiritual way? I totally disagree with everybody. Or do you embody the presence? And then you sit there and you begin to listen to all the people discussing things without saying, oh, you're all so ignorant. You should be judged. Without the judgments of the mind, you simply watch. And you're there as a still, alert presence. And you watch. And then you may find at some point words may come out of your mouth and you say something. It will be totally different energy from the energy that these people are putting out. But it's not that you are saying, no, I'm going to show you the right energy. No, it doesn't. It comes out of presence. Words that come out of presence are not, they don't generate more confrontation and human unconsciousness. And it may well be that suddenly people listen. But that's the result. You're not attached to the result. And you cannot predict what will come out of your mouth. Maybe nothing will come out of your mouth and you will just be there. And perhaps the very fact that there's one human being who holds the presence might change what these people say or do in the room. It could happen. It doesn't matter, but that your primary responsibility is embodying a different state of consciousness. Whether action comes out of that, words come out of that, is secondary. So that really is, we've all had experiences of how dysfunctional all these places are where egos come together. Where egos come together, it cannot not be dysfunctional.
Now, this is, these inquiries are so endlessly fascinating because once you're on that level of pure consciousness or reality with a capital R, you are in the realm where there is no time or space. So when you were in that meeting of the hospital administration in Vancouver, and you go into pure consciousness, which, by the way, cannot but affect the people in the room, in ways that you will never know, there could be a suicide bomber somewhere who says, I'm not going to do it. Literally.
Yeah.
There could be a soldier somewhere who says, I'm putting my gun down. So once we're in that realm of pure consciousness, we're in the one mind. That's the esoteric meaning of the line, there is only one begotten Son, means we're all it. So it is not just, as you were saying, which is, well, if where you find yourself is the hospital administration meeting, that's your assignment today. But it's also that place where spirituality intersects, spiritual practice intersecting global activism, because you actually are affecting the entire globe and contributing to that 51%. But also affecting, you have no idea where this might be. We know that when the butterfly flaps its wings in this southern tip of the planet, that it affects the wind currents at the North Pole. We know that. This is the same on the level of consciousness. So you are working on the world if you're working on yourself, deeply.
Yes. And you're very powerful. In that sense, you are very powerful. The wonderful quote that the most famous quote from Marianne,
Our deepest fear.
which is usually attributed to Nelson Mandela, but it's actually by Marianne, which is
it's from A Return to Love. Of course, it's
Yes.
a course content. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. Yeah. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. That,
yes.
Of course. Yes. And then I'm the only person I know who doesn't have the rest of it memorized.
It's lovely, thank you. Now, I believe that, did you say Marianne needs to go soon? Yeah. So let's thank her for being here. A wonderful, valuable, incredible addition.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great honor. Great honor. God bless you.